Hey, what's up guys, Gypsy, and we are back here today for CPC semi-finals going up against Hikertoad, a really solid player. He's not the most known guy in the community, like in the kind of like big draft community, but he should be. Honestly, this guy is very good. I think he's like relatively new to the format. I could be wrong on that, but like maybe like a year he's been in it or something like that. But this dude's been killing it. He's going really well in the CPC. He pretty much went undefeated. I think he had like 2 losses in the regular season of the CPC, something like that, maybe 3. But yeah, he's had a very good season, and he's one of those players who just does well in like draft tournaments and stuff. I've heard his name quite a bit, and I've seen some of his matches versus some really high caliber opponents where he's actually come out on top. So yeah, definitely not a guy to be taken lightly, and he's got a very threatening team. He's got Mega Mawile, which is just an absolute monster. Very cool to see it in the format, in my opinion. I think it's really cool that we see it in the format, but I'll tell you, prepping against it isn't the funnest thing in the world. So I'm going to go into kind of what I have to kind of respond to Mega Mawile when we get into the team builder, but I just want to quickly talk about Hiker's team. So as I mentioned, he does have the Mega Mawile. He has the Taunty with Z-move eligibility, and this thing is a massive threat to my team. It's a massive threat to most teams. Taunty just with regen and with just that really nice speed tier, as well as having the potential to be an Assault Vest variant, which honestly, like, if Hiker hadn't brought this girder here that you see here, nice girder by the way, this thing is sick, there's a very strong chance that this Taunt could well have been AV to be a nice check to Gren, because Life Orb Gren kind of goes ham versus his team. If this isn't like a really bulky girder, which it probably is looking at matchup. And yeah, Taunt, it's very versatile. It's got some great options, especially versus my team. Like I said, it has access to Z moves, so you know, Z Heatwave for something like Cell Stealer isn't out of the question. Z Focus Blast for something I saw in mocks for something like Licky, and it's just got great momentum grabbing with U-turn and knock. You guys know what Taunt does. Very solid mon here. And he's got Starmie and like Darmanitan, 2 huge threats versus my team. Life Orb Starmie really like forced my hand in bringing this to Situai, which I originally didn't want to bring, but just a massive threat to my team. Darm, solid Scarfer in my opinion, very solid Scarfer versus me. Could be a number of sets in my opinion, but I am expecting Scarfer matchup. This Persian could well be a defensive set to check Zardex, and it's pretty much what I'm expecting. If I don't see helmet or lefties, this could well be a scarfed version to revenge a +1 like weakened Zard with a scarf foul play, and it has a pretty wide move pool, so it could be a number of things. So we'll have to see on that. But Persian, very cool mon. Really enjoyed using it in the MPL, and it'll be interesting to see how Hiker uses it here. And then lastly, he has Girder. Now this is a mon I didn't really think would come. It's definitely a threat versus my team. Like, as funny as that sounds, it's a bit of an annoyance to my team, and particularly for one key member, which I'm going to go into soon. Very cool bring, in my opinion. I think it makes a lot of sense versus me, but this slot could have well been something else like Galvantula he had on his team for web support. It could have been something like he had a number of threats on his squad, kind of escaping me now, but yeah, he had a few different mons he could have brought in that slot where the Girder is. He could have also brought something like Quillfish to stack hazards versus me. He could have brought something like the Nidoqueen, even something like Pillar Swine as like a Zard check, or Exeggutor to set Trickrin for more while. But honestly, he did bring this, and that's going to really hamper my Licky's ability to put in work this game, but going to jump into that soon. So the first one we have here is Celesteela. So this is a before I jump into talking about my team, I just want to give a shout out to friends of mine who gave me mocks for this game. I made probably like, I want to say like 7 teams for this game. I really chopped and changed. I originally had a team that looked very different to this, but honestly, the more I kind of thought about the matchup, the more I kind of leant towards something like this, and it evolved into this after a series of mocks. So shout out to my friends who were down to let me test some ideas. I really do enjoy mocking and just testing ideas, and yep, it's cool to have a bunch of mates who are down for that. So I appreciate all of you guys. So gonna quickly jump into the team. So we have a Celesteela here. Predominantly actually an offensive Celly. So this is a protect lefties Celesteela with Autonomize, Flamethrower and Air Slash, really solid versus the team he has brought here. Protect and lefties allow me to bluff a defensive Celly, or even just the bulkier Celly, as I did in my finals match for NPL versus Riz. And Protect Lefties is very nice. It was originally Z Air Slash, but honestly I found the longevity that lefties provided was really nice. I didn't like switching in on rocks and like not having any recovery. You know, he always has Dumb in the back, which can outspeed a +2 Selly unless I'm timid. And without setup, like without already a +1, Z Air Slash is doing nothing to stuff like AV Taunt. I really found as though Protect Lefties with Autonomize was nice because I can always bluff like a bulkier set mid game and then show off the auto late game when Selly is in a position to sweep his team. So very nice mod in this matchup. If I really need something to take care of this Gerda, I know Selly will be able to do it, particularly if I knock off its lefty, its Eviolite. It will guaranteed be knocked out by Air Slash unless he's like max Spid F and he's at full or something like that. So yeah, very solid mon here. Obviously gonna have to scout for stuff like Life Orb T-Bolt from Stummy, because if I live a Life Orb T-Bolt from full, but if I'm chipped or anything, that can definitely take me out. So gonna have to be aware of that. It also outspeed max speed Mawile, which is nice because I can bop it with the flamethrower after some chips. So the next one we have here is my mixed F Licky Licky, predominantly Spid F. It's actually a Curse Rest Talk EQ set, so pretty nice on paper. Like if you hadn't brought the Gerda, if you brought something like Coolfish, this thing was able to set up in everything's face. And yes, it's walled by Torn because I had no way of touching Torn, but we're gonna get into how I lure Torn a little bit later. But honestly, this thing is pretty nice. EQ, I was originally returned, but it just wasn't doing enough. I wasn't punishing them more while switching, so I opted to change it to EQ. And honestly, like once I get 30% off or like 40% off, 30% plus rocks off on this Mawile, if it's max HP, it's in range of flamethrower from neutral Selly. So that's the game plan here with the Licky. Weaken the Mawile if possible, or potentially be a late game win con with Curse late game. Obviously he does have the Gerda, so that kind of really puts a dent in Licky's usefulness, but it will at least be an expendable sack if I need to sack something off to the Tornadus, for example. If I need to determine if it's like Z move or Assault Vest or like Life Orb or something, I can always switch in Licky Licky if I need to, because unfortunately Gerda's here. So yeah, the next one we have here is my Splash Plate Gren. Very nice versus his team. Obviously he has the Gerda, which is a solid switch in if it's like really bulky and if it has its Eviolite intact. The only real thing apart from Gerda that wants to switch in is a potential AV Taunt, and if he is AV Taunt, I actually have Toxic on this Gren. So this Gren is designed to catch bulky taunts on the switching with Toxic. I can even Hydro, and then as they switch in, to take the Hydro Toxic the following turn, living any hit bar Focus Blast, and poison that, and that puts it on the time of something like Licky Licky to set up in its face. And you know, had he not brought Gerda, I could just click just Curse up versus this Rest. I can't be taunted because I am oblivious, and I could just start clicking EQ. Mawile does under 50% with play rough to me after one Curse. So that's just showing you. If he's Mega, he's not going to have the Intimidate, and he's going to be 2KO'd by Earthquake from my Licky Licky. So very, very nice being able to beat Mawile like that. And if anything, just put it in range of Celestial if I do have to sack it off. But yeah, the idea of this Gren is just to put pressure on his team. Hydro, nothing really wants to switch in. Stummy could potentially be a Cobra Berry variant with T-Wave or Thunderbolt to lure the Gren in, which would be a nice bring if he does bring that. But obviously gonna have to scout for that. If Stummy comes in and it's in range of, and it's out of range of like Cobra Dark Pulse after a Hydro, then I'm not going to risk that. Going to play this Gren smart. I do have Water Shuriken on here, which can actually put in the work. If I get up rocks early, Water Shuriken can be pretty clutch late game, and allows me to beat Sucker Punch from Mawile if I do need to. But honestly, Water Pulse is just Water Shuriken is mainly just here for stuff like Scarfed Dharm, potential like Scarfed Persian if I really need it, but as well as like avoiding Mach Punch from Gerda if it's low. So then we have a really Spid F, like almost max Spid F in my Decidueye here with the Yachi Berry. Now this set was pretty much forced my hand because Stummy is an absolute monster. Like Life Orb Analytics Stummy is just a beast. This thing is crazy. I spin block it all day long. With Yachi Berry I take Analytic. I take like 20 something from Analytic Ice Beam from this Stummy, which is really solid. I have Toxic on this set as well because I want to lure this Torn. Honestly, like had he not brought Gerda, as I said earlier, Licky Licky was a fantastic win con, so supporting that with Toxic on both Decidueye and Gren, and freeing Gren up to click Hydro if Torn's already Toxic, but Decidueye is really nice because Gren honestly appreciates clicking an attacking move more than it does predicting Torn to come in and clicking Toxic. So Torn is a pretty likely switch in on Decidueye, and if he does come in and he gets Toxic, Licky just has a nicer time. So this thing has defog as well. He had the option of bringing webs, which would have been a bit annoying for me, particularly my Gren wouldn't have really appreciated webs being up, so being able to defog that, as well as potential stacking up by stuff like Coolfish. Don't want my Zard getting poisoned if I can help it, nor do I want something like Crook getting poisoned if it's healthy late game. So yeah, pretty decent mon in this matchup. Spirit Shackle is solid because it prevents him from doubling. Pretty standard Spidef Owl. So the next one we have here is a pretty bulky Crook with the Fairy Resist Berry. I think it's Roselia Berry. Rocks are important. I have a spin blocker, and being able to 1v1 a Mega Mawile is pretty important with Intimidate. And the Roselia Berry, I can take a Play Rough, and obviously 2 Echo with Earthquake. I can always switch in and take around 50 or high 50s depending on rolls from a Play Rough if I'm at full, and then scare him out with the potential of an Earthquake. The last one we have here is a pretty Spidef. It's a very bulky Zard. Adamant, but with a ton of Spidef to be able to set up on the likes of Hydro Pump from Starmie, Hurricane from Torn. I take well and truly under half from Torn. Torn's Hurricane, which is a really nice, and just DD Roost with dual coverage. Honestly, pretty nice versus his team. So, gonna jump into the match. That was a very long team builder. So, for those of you guys who just want to get to the match, hope you didn't mind waiting. But you know, I prepped long and hard for this game, so hopefully you do appreciate that. And Hiker's a very good player, so this is going to be a fun one. But I'm going to lead off with Crook. I want to get rocks up. Crook doesn't lose versus lead Mawile, loses versus lead Starmie, but I have Decidueye. I can set up rocks versus Darm and Persian, and I can even set up rocks versus Gerda if he decides to lead with it. And I've got enough Spidef to not die to a Focus Blast from this Tornadus unless it's Life Orb. So going to lead off with Crook. He does lead off with Gerda. Now, obviously this is unfortunate. I'm probably going to take a Drain Punch unless he wants to make the really aggressive knock turn 1. But honestly, like, I'd rather stay in and get rocks up and proceed to knock off his Violite the following turn if he does choose to stay in, than preserving health in this Crocodile. So I'm going to get up my rocks. I've got a blocker in Decidueye and Starmie. Like, Darm won't appreciate, Torn won't appreciate taking rocks. Even Starmie like does not appreciate taking rocks. Persian certainly doesn't if this is his Zard check. So yep, getting everything chipped for Celestealer and Zard is important, as well as Gren. Like, if I get rocks up, this thing does not appreciate taking Hydras from Gren. So gonna knock here, gonna remove the Violite as he does choose to knock himself. Probably predicting my Decidueye there or something like that, or even my Celestealer. I'm gonna switch out to Charizard here on the Drain Punch because I knew I could even take a Stone Edge from a -1 Gerda at that range of health. The damage from his knock and his Drain revealed that he's barely invested in attack, if anything, and my Zard is really bulky. So I'm gonna Mega Evolve here and click Dragon Claw. Funnily enough, the first time we played, I Mega Evolve and click Dragon Claw. And then I cancelled because I was thinking I was running some calcs, and I was potentially reconsidering if I was going to Flare Blitz this turn, predicting the Persian to come in to get more damage off, or even double into something like Gren. And then I decided I'd click Dragon Claw, so I clicked Dragon Claw again, but I forgot to press Mega, and when I re-clicked it, and his Persian came in and Dragon Clawed at 15, and I was still regular Zard. So we had to restart it, and the second time we restarted it, I got a crit, and Persian was really low, and so obviously that's just lame. So we restarted a third time, and we finally got it right. So I'm going to switch out here. I'm going to go into Crook, as I don't want to take a Toxic on my Zard. I don't want to take a Foul Play. Crook is overall the best play because it does prevent something like his Mawile coming in here freely and setting up rocks. I want to pressure the Mawile not to set up rocks if I can help it, because apart from Mawile, nothing else sets up rocks versus me. So he does go for Foul Play here. So this could potentially be a Scarfed Persian, and this is going to be confirmed by the fact that he doesn't have lefties, and the fact that if he wasn't choice locked, he'd probably have Parting Shot, and he reveals the hard switch out here. So this confirms, or pretty much tells me, that he's more than likely a Scarfed Persian. That's going to be important for the late game. So he's going to go into Tornadus here, as I am going to knock off. Knock covered him staying in and being like Rocky Helmet or something, which could be pretty important for Zard late game. It also obviously caught this Tornadus, and nothing else wanted to take a knockoff. He could have gone into Gerda, obviously, but me going for EQ there would have let Torn in, and Gerda may not have appreciated taking an EQ from this Crook here. So he wants to keep his Gerda as healthy as possible as well for my Gren. As you see, knockoff didn't reveal an item, so this is Z move and not AV, so Gren is a big threat to his team. as this turn I am going to stay in, predicting him to U-turn, or if anything fire off the Z move. I was happy with sacking off Crook there if I had to that turn, but I know Hikers are like he's a good player. He likes to make aggressive plays with Taunt, and I figured this turn he would switch out, maybe going out into something like I figured he'd U-turn there anyway. I didn't really know what he'd go out into. If he U-turned and I stayed in, chances are he's going out to Gerda, but he could have also just gone out into something like Star Me if he wasn't U-turn on this, which is a possibility, because Taunt may want to have like Taunt, Hurricane, Heat Wave, and like Focus Blast or something. There are a few different options on Taunt, but U-turn is pretty solid here, so I'm going to hit him with a knockoff, and it's going to do nothing. But Gerda's at a range of health where I can take it out with a Hydro from Gren, which is nice after rocks. He's going to make the double here out into Taunt. Very nice play, expecting my switch out there, knowing Crook can't do much to Gerda. The worst it can do is like Suicide EQ, and Taunt obviously is immune to that, so nice play here. I'm just going to make the switch out here, not wanting to take his Z Sky Strike and go out into my Licky as he goes for U-turn. So this is what I was trying to avoid. I was trying to avoid Mawile coming in there, but the threat of Z Taunt was too much for my Zard to risk there. Obviously, I could have lived a Hurricane. I think I literally lived a Z Hurricane there. But because of the importance of Zard in this game, because of how effective it is, I didn't want to risk it. Like, if he crit me there with Z Sky Strike, I have like 180 speed F, so I have like with max HP, so I definitely lived Z Hurricane there, but it wasn't worth it in my mind. This Licky was more expendable, and I lived a Z Hurricane into a Hurricane due to my bulk investment and lefties. And if he did go into Mawile, it's pretty unfortunate, because as you can see, he's going to get the rocks, and he is going to get the Intimidate drop on me. But I will be able to chip this thing down with the EQ, put it in range of my Celesteel's Flamethrower, which is important, as well as Gren's Hydro, because if this is max HP Mawile, it's actually not in guaranteed range of Hydro, so I don't want to risk it. I want to guarantee put this in range, so I'm just going to stay in here and sack off this Licky here. He gets the attack drop with the Plater off. Doesn't really matter, because it would have done very little more, and it's already in range of the Mons that can revenge it, so it's not the end of the world. I'm just going to stay in here with Licky. I rested there just in case he went out to something like Gerda, wanting to set up on my Licky, and he also may have gone out to something like Gerda to prevent my Licky from coming in, to prevent my Greninja from coming in and claiming a kill here, which it certainly does looking at his team. So Mawile could also be useful later on. Whatever I brought in would require a sack on his part, so he may have wanted to preserve Mawile, and going into something like Gerda there on my Licky was pretty safe, because Gerda just chews everything and just goes for Drain Punch. So he actually opts to stay in and just click Player off there, it takes me out. So I'm going to click Hydro here. He has no safe switch in, as he chooses to sack off his Mawile, and we hit the Hydro here, so Mawile's going to drop, which is really nice for the rest of my team. So don't have to worry about Sucker Punch being a thing, don't have to worry about switching into that Behemoth. But now comes Big Bag Gerda, and I'm going to switch into my Celesteela here. The chances of him going for knockoff here were very low, because I do have Zard, which I've shown to be the switch into this Gerda, like a few turns already. I've got the Decidueye in the back, which resists Muck Punch, which is probably going to come out at Greninja, and if I switched out, chances are I was fearing a Muck Punch coming out, because that definitely killed Ninja at the range of health it was at. Going into Selly was my best play. Even in the worst case scenario that he goes for Drain Punch and knockoff, it's not the end of the world. I fire off an Air Slash, and I basically claim one, unless he goes into Dharm, who can live, or something like Stun. I get useful chip off anyway, but he's actually going to go for Bulk Up this turn, which is a cool play. I reckon he was probably predicting me to sack off the Crocodile here, or even go into Charizard, and with a Bulk Up, he was in a pretty solid position in a 1v1 situation. But I do make the play into my Celesteela, and now I can fire off an Air Slash. I deliberated about this turn for a while, as did he. I knew I'd click Air Slash every time there, but on the off chance that he thought I was a defensive Selly based on the way I switched it in and the fact that I have lefties, he may instead have opted to stay in and started setting up on my Gerda. So it took a bit of time. But he does switch out into Dharm here, which is nice, because we get damage off on this thing, and this thing is revealed to be quite bulky. Like, he took that Air Slash a little bit better than he should have. So this told me he was more than likely a bulky Scarfed, like an HP invested Scarfed Dharm. So he may be like Jolly with enough speed for Crook, and then like a ton of HP, or even like Adamant outspeeding something like max speed Scarfed Decidueye or something with or like max speed adamant Scarf Crook with the rest in HP, something like that. He wasn't max HP, I don't think, but he was slightly invested. So this is important to know. I do have the protectors, so I'm just going to go for protect, scouting what he wants to lock himself into, or at least I thought that was the case at this stage in the game. He actually revealed to me after the game that he was a Shuka variant of Dharm, so he was actually a bulkier Dharm designed to take on a potential autonomized EQ Celesteela. So that's a really cool prep, but this was an interesting turn. Because I think he's scarfed, and even if he isn't scarfed, I know Hiker's smart. I know he knows that I prefer to play safe with my wing cons, and if I was playing safe, I would switch out here to scout for the Flare Blitz, like the non-choice Flare Blitz, and that could be big. Like if I switch out here and go into Crook to sack it off, I just get to bring in Gren and just click Hydro, and I get to save my Selly for another day. If I go into Crook and he clicks U-turn, he's in a really solid position because he can go out into something like Torn or Starmie and immediately put the pressure back on me. I get switch initiative obviously, but it's still very threatening, and he always has the Girder to come in on the Greninja, so that's pretty threatening. I do just stay in here and click Air Slash. I didn't feel like he'd Flare Blitz here. He'd let Gren come in and claim a kill, as well as Zard, and I do just Air Slash here as he does U-turn. So this is really solid for us. We're going to be able to get some nice chip off on the Starmie, and this is going to put this thing at a range of health where after another round of rocks, it'll be in range of a neutral Air Slash from Selly. So if I can autonomize up, I'm going to be in a really nice spot, but I am still thinking this scum is daft. This Dumb is scarfed at this stage in the game, so I have to remove that before I can set up with autonomized Selly. That's my thought process at this stage. So I'm going to switch out here into my Decidueye this turn, as he does reveal the Thunder Wave. So that actually revealed to be a really bulky, I think max HP Starmie, so really nice in the sense that it's less likely it's like max special attack Life Orb analytic, more than likely, and probably backed up by the fact that he has Thunder Wave, a Cobbleberry Lure variant for Gren. So that's my thoughts at this stage. Anyway, I don't have any confirmation on that, but that's pretty much what I thought of this Starmie at this stage. But he misses the T-Wave, not too influential as Decidueye was already outsped by everything on his team barring Girder. And I do have Spirit Shackle here, which I would have fired off either way after he paralyzed me this turn. So gonna go for Spirit Shackle here. Does 36, clean 36. I'm out of range of Hurricane from a Tornadus, and the damage from earlier from his Torn versus my I think it was versus my Licky revealed that he was timid with no attack, and he was pretty bulky. So I had a feeling he was like max HP with like a little bit of special attack, but not max. In other words, he'd need to pop a Z move to be able to actually kill my Decidueye from here. So I'm going to sack off my Crocodile, as he does indeed click the Z Hurricane here. So yeah, this massive threat has popped its big weapon versus my team, so that's nice. I will be able to go out into Celesteela here. Now, I really wanted to click Autonomize here, but you got to respect the Scarfed Arm, and that's honestly what I thought it was. So I'm just going to click Air Slash, as he does go out to Dumb out of 10 here. And this is nice. I get some lefties back with the special attack raise, and nothing he really wants to take on this Selly, but he does have the Starmie, and I know he has Thunder Wave, and I'm not trying to stay in here on the Thunder Wave. He may have had Recover here as well, so going into Decidueye on the Recover would have been pretty nice. Being able to just get a Shadow Spirit Shackle off the following turn without taking any damage on my Owl. But he does reveal the T-Bolt, and that's an uninvested T-Bolt from this Starmie, so it wouldn't have done too much to my Selly. I could have actually autonomized up on it, but I am keeping in mind the possibility of this Persian being scarfed with the potential of Thunderbolt. I wasn't really thinking that he had Thunderbolt at this stage, but it's definitely a possibility. So he's gonna go into his Tornadus here on my Spirit Shackle and live on 2, I should say. Now I'm at 66%. I actually thought he had about 92 special attack investment, but he told me after the game he had 56. Hurricane does a max of, I'll get the calc up here, it does a max of 65% is actually the max it does, and I'm actually at 65.6% currently. So It does 55 to 65%. I'm at 66%, so I guarantee live this Hurricane unless he crits, and I take him out with Shadow Sneak, the Spirit Shackle. But unfortunately, he hits and he crits me, so pretty unfortunate. That crit did matter in the sense that it wouldn't have killed Decidueye without the crit, and I would have killed the Taunt, but he could have also got the Confusion, which is something to consider. He could have got the 30% Confusion chance, or whatever percentage it is, and I could have, potentially hit myself into Confusion there. It's not really the end of the world, because Selly will be able to come in here and just click Autonomize. He's going to go for the Heat Wave, but Lefty's really coming through here, because I will be able to recover 12% over these next few turns with the lefties, and I'm going to be left out of range of something like Muck Punch crit from his Girder. So he's now going to go into Persian, and I know Greninja pretty much has this game in the bag now. Have to be careful of Girder's Muck Punch, but I do want to preserve Selly if he does reveal to have T-Bolt. I'm going to protect here, and the fact that this thing presses T-Bolt, I'm pretty sure this is Scarf Persian. Like I said earlier, he took way too much damage for it to be max defense with like no speed from Zard's Dragon Claw, so I know this thing is probably Scarfed, and Scarfed Foul Play is pretty solid versus Zard, as well as stuff like Latios, so definitely felt like this would be Scarfed, and I am just going to switch out here into my Zard, knowing that I can chew up Thunderbolt if I need to. So now I can just click Dragon Claw. It's pretty free here. I'm not trying to give this Starmie a switch in for it to paralyze me the following turn, so I'm just going to take it out here. If he went to Girder, he got 2 KO'd, and if he stayed in with Persian, he obviously died there, so he's going to go out into Girder here, actually bulk up as I roost. So this is a pretty cool set. Nice bulk up, Drain Punch Girder, and I'm going to hit him with a Flare Blitz. This will be able to 2 KO him, as his Drain Punch only does 39, and he's now going to be in range of a second Flare Blitz. So now Persian's going to come in. He's going to be able to revenge me here with the Foul Play, and Greninja is going to be able to wrap this game up with the Water Shuriken. So this was definitely a really fun, semis match. Probably, I want to say the closest match I've had in the CPC this season. Honestly, it was pretty neck and neck. Definitely a fun game. I think Hike is a very good player, and I honestly hope to face him again in the future sometime, perhaps in the MPL. It would be really cool to see him get into the minors with a few other guys who I think are definitely some up-and-coming players in the format. So definitely go and check out Hiker. He's got a relatively new YouTube channel, but he's very good. you could learn a lot from watching him play, and I definitely recommend you go and do that. So hope you guys did enjoy. Obviously, go and check out his perspective on the game if he does upload that, which I'd say he will. So go and check that out, and yeah, stay tuned, because I think I've got a feeling Hiker may make his way into the minors, which would be pretty cool. So hope you guys did enjoy. That's going to be my CPC semis match. We're now on to finals, and we are facing off against Ricepool, I think. Ricepool in finals. He goes by a few different names, but Ricepool I think is what he's known by, so that should be a pretty fun one. No doubt. Hope you guys did enjoy. Drop a like if you did, and I'll catch you guys next time.